On this episode, What's Going On with Shipping is going to react to the greatest beer run ever new movie trailer. I'm your host, Sal Mercoglano. Welcome to this episode of What's Going On with Shipping. So, got something special today because this just dropped and I want to talk about it. But the trailer for the movie, The Greatest Beer Run Ever, is coming out. It's going to be out on Apple TV on September 30th. But it is such a great story, and I want to share it because there is a shipping element involved to it. So, my academic work has done with the involvement of merchant shipping in the role of national defense. And my one book I published so far is this right here, which is Fourth Armored Defense, Sealift and Maritime Logistics in the Vietnam War. And this is actually available. You can download it as a PDF. It was done through the Navy History and Heritage Command, where I talked about the role of the Merchant Marine in the Vietnam War. And I'm currently working on a chapter for a book on logistics in the Vietnam War. However, one of the best stories that was under the surface doing my research, this is back when I was even doing my master's research, is the story of John Chick Donahue making the most epic beer run in history, where he embarked on a victory ship, sailed all the way from New York to Vietnam, and then proceeded to go throughout Vietnam delivering beer, Pabst Blue Ribbon to be exact, to buddies of his who lived in his community. So the trailer just dropped. I want to talk a little bit about the trailer, talk a little bit about the movie itself. And so let's go ahead and jump into it. Before we do so, if you're new to the channel, take a moment, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so be alerted about new videos as they come out. So first off, this is based on a book, New York Times bestseller, written by Chick Donahue along with J.T. Malloy on this about the greatest beer run ever. It was a great book. I really strongly recommend the book. But of course, the movie is coming out now, and this is the cover for it. I do have a problem with the art here being used because it shows him like parachuting in to deliver his beer. And while he will ride helicopters and planes in Vietnam, he gets there by ship. And this is my one little pet peeve I do have with the cover. So Zac Efron is going to be playing the role here of Chick Donahue. Let's go ahead and look at the trailer for this movie.
I'm going to Vietnam, and I'm bringing a beer!
Okay, I'm not gonna lie, really excited about this movie. Been hearing about this for a while. I actually got consulted on this for what would the crew be wearing on a ship in this time period. Although they wouldn't tell me what movie it was, I knew what movie it was. It was pretty obvious what it was going to be. There's a couple of stories you can tell about the Merchant Marine in Vietnam, and this is one of the few. There's some other great ones too, which I could share, but this is the movie I've been waiting for.
Are you ready?
What are we doing?
We're gonna run for our lives.
My favorite is just him running around in just regular civilian clothes. He's actually up at Quezon at this point, delivering the second set of beers he has here when you know the story. But he had gotten off the ship in Quai Nan, which is a port in northern Vietnam. This is the end of 67, early 68. And he had been a merchant seaman. Actually, Chick Donahue had been a Marine, but he had been sailing as a merchant seaman. And so he decides to do this, as you'll see in the story.
We're halfway home. Halfway?
I'm Chicky Donahue, and I am not supposed to be in Vietnam.
Hey, get your ass out of bed, you lazy bum. Look at you, sleeping your life away.
Look at these scumbags.
Hey, you're embarrassing yourself and you're embarrassing your family.
So the issue about protests in Vietnam is a really interesting one. As a historian who teaches this subject, I have to tell you all the time that why was Vietnam such a huge protested movement? It has a lot to do with the draft. The fact that what got you out of the draft was a college deferment. And when that college deferment went away, that's when all of a sudden you saw a lot of protests explode on college campuses. Now, there was a lot of reason to protest Vietnam for obvious reasons. But one of the things you see here is it really starts to explode in 1967 when that deferment goes away. And for many people who had been, the idea you would not question your government, that comes into the forefront here in the 1960s. And where Chicky gets the idea for this is at a bar where all great ideas in terms of the Merchant Marine ever come from is from a bar.
Protesters not know that our soldiers see that on TV. I'd like to go over to Vietnam, track down all the boys in the neighborhood, and give them a beer.
I could do that.
Do what?
Bring in beer.
He's not serious. He's hammered. Look at him.
The man's stone sober. That's his fifth beer, maybe, tops.
I'm going.
So it's a great line. Number one, the fact that he's stone sober after 5, 6 beers, which is again a fairly typical one there. I also find this image here really an interesting one because one of the things you see here, number one, that is Bill Murray playing the role of Colonel Lynch, who owns the bar and really gets the idea going. But I also like the idea of the Lusitania poster right here behind him. It is the Lusitania sinking that for many Americans started galvanizing the idea that we may go into the First World War. Now, we didn't go to war because it's 2 years later when we go to war, but it is the sinking of commercial shipping that gets us into the First World War. 10 ships are sunk, 64 mariners killed. And when Woodrow Wilson goes before Congress in World War I, that's the issue he's going to raise here. So shipping is playing a role here, prominent in the image here from the bar.
Tops.
I'm going to Vietnam and I'm bringing a beer.
Hey, Chief.
Any good idea like that can be drummed up at a night in a bar. Let's be clear about this. But what really is interesting is the fact that Chicky was a merchant seaman at this time. All he had to do was go down to the Union Hall and see if there's a ship leaving for Vietnam.
No chance you have a ship heading to Vietnam.
1,700 hours.
Tonight? It's not gonna be easy.
But I'm gonna show him that this country is still behind him.
You're gonna get yourself killed over there.
It's like you said, everyone's doing something. I'm doing nothing.
So
Smuggling.
Chicky Donahue shows up in Vietnam. He loaded about 2 cases of Pabst Blue Ribbon. It's Pabst does this, and I'll talk about Pabst in a minute because they have another role to play here. But he goes on board the SS Drake Victory. Now, Drake Victory is one of many Victory ships that were broken out, about 130 during the Vietnam War. They were laid up in the reserve fleet. And starting in 1965, with the buildup of U.S. forces in Vietnam, the large buildup, we needed additional shipping to do it. So they tapped into these ships left over from World War II. Victory ships were the next evolution of the Liberty ship, much faster, better cargo arrangement inside of them. And Victory ships were basically hauling the goods over to Vietnam. They were really the bulwark that in the initial stages allowed the buildup to happen in Vietnam. They're going to be phased out by the introduction of a new ship, a container ship, introduced by Malcolm McLean, who sells the idea that I can do what you're doing with Victory ships. I can do it with container ships. So Chicky sails over there. He sails as an able-bodied seaman, one of the deck crew. And on his way over to Vietnam, he swaps out shifts with some of the guys on board his vessel. Now, his ship is actually an ammunition ship, and he's going to bring ammunition over there. He switches out some shifts with his guys so that when he arrives in Quy Nhon, he's able to get them to cover his shift so he can go ashore and go find his buddies. Now, he never tells anyone this is what he's doing. He lies. He says he's going to go find his stepbrother because their stepmom just died, or stepdad, maybe stepdad just died. And so he uses this sob story to get there. And all he wants to do is go deliver beers to all his buddies.
Beer into a war zone? That's not the smartest thing I've ever heard of. It's certainly not the worst either.
What if you start up here with Collins,
Just came to deliver a sudsy thank you card.
and then
So that first delivery, which is a really funny one because they show you he's an MP here and he's on base. In truth, the MPs, the 127th MP company, which is he's a part of, were actually providing guard duty for the ships coming into Quy Nhon. So members of that MP company had come on board his ship. And they asked him if they knew where his buddy was, and he was actually on another ship. And actually, found him on another ship. They don't show that in the movie here. Instead, they have him on a base here. But the MPs provided guard duty on the vessels. Now, Chicky had been to Vietnam twice before this, and both times he had gone into Vietnam before them, he hadn't been shot at, hadn't been fired at. Matter of fact, he makes the comment that it was pretty safe. He goes, as safe as the Bronx, was as the safe as the Bronx, and that's maybe that's a good joke because the Bronx is not that safe. But these MPs would come on board because American merchant ships were shot at going into Vietnam on a fairly routine basis. Matter of fact, the run up to Saigon through the Rung Sat, the Forest of Assassins, through the river system there was perilous in some cases. Actually, one ship was actually mined and sunk. 7 of the crew members were killed on board another Victory ship, the Baton Rouge Victory. So here he is delivering the sets of beers to his buddies.
Thank you card.
And then, if you're still alive,
You American?
New York. Thanks a lot.
you can hustle down to Dugan.
Ta-da.
Tricky.
I brought you beer.
You shouldn't be here. You think this is funny?
So when they were out with his buddy from the 127th, he ran into somebody from the 1st Cavalry Division, and 1st Cavalry guys stand out because they got the biggest shoulder patch in all of human history. And he was able to get a ride up to the worst place in the world in Vietnam to be at, Khe Sanh. And this is before the Tet Offensive hit. And he's going to be there when the Tet Offensive kind of starts to fire off. And so he gets up there and gets more than what he expected, running around in that kind of corduroy shirt he has and those light pants. He just stands out throughout this.
I'm not doing this for laughs. I'm doing it for all you guys.
Come on, time to go.
Is it over?
Yeah, you're dead.
You don't get it, do you, chick? This isn't a John Wayne movie where you know the good guys are and you know the bad guys are.
I didn't come all this way just to quit.
Somebody's got to be here to see what's going on. I want the truth told. For them. They're just kids.
So Chickie's got a very interesting comment, and I'll link you over to this because there's actually a YouTube video that Pabst Blue Ribbon did, I think back in 2015 when the book came out, which is great. It's Chickie and all the guys did it. It's a fantastic video on YouTube that links to this. And one of the things he talked about in doing this is like it's a bit of a lark to deliver the beers to the guys, but he also wanted to let them know, because the protesters at home, that people care about them, that they're not forgotten. And I think that's such a powerful image that you have here. Here's this guy, you know, boards a merchant ship. He works as a crew member, sails it across the Pacific, arrives in Vietnam, and then embarks on this voyage to see his buddies and see what the war's like, but also to let them know that we haven't forgotten you. The guys at your favorite bar in New York talk about you all the time.
You're gonna find out it's a lot harder to get out of a war than it is to get into one. I'm trying to show them that somebody back home is still behind them.
You got a good heart, Chickie. It's your brains I'm worried about.
Who's this hand job?
It's my next door neighbor. He brought me a beer.
Hi.
I'm not gonna lie, that ending there is a pretty good scene there. Chickie did have a problem getting back from Vietnam, not to give the whole story away, but he makes the runs, and I'll let you know whether or not he gets to all the guys or not. You gotta see the movie to see it or read the book. But by the time he got back to Quai Nan, the Drake Victory had sailed. So he did find himself kind of stuck in Vietnam for a while, having to figure out how to get out of the war zone. It's a really interesting movie. I'm looking forward to seeing. I hadn't seen it yet, so obviously I just saw the trailer drop, and I just wanted to talk about it. So this is the video I was talking about, done by Pabst on the greatest beer run ever. I got the audio off here. I just got it playing. But that is Chickie Donahue driving right there. There he is. And it shows the reunion with those guys from the greatest beer run. And he talks about it. It's a great little piece here that he does. A lot of fun. And again, I'll link over to, of course, the trailer for this movie. I'll link over to the Pabst video there with Chickie Donahue doing it. And I'll link over to the book that you can get and read. I'll also link over to my book, which you can actually download as a PDF if you're interested in the Sealift aspect of it. Again, we don't get a lot of good movies, Merchant Marine movies that come out. And so I thought I'd just take a moment and give you my reaction and comments to it. Again, I can't wait. It may make me want to get something from Apple, which I don't usually do. Not gonna lie. I'm not a big fan of the Apple monstrosity it is, but they keep dropping some good movies every now and then. I had to use the preview to get Greyhound. Now I may have to do that again to be able to watch this movie, because I think this is going to be a fun movie to watch. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's little bit of reaction to the trailer of the greatest beer run ever, which was done by a merchant marine and required global shipping. If you enjoyed today's video, hey, take a moment, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so be alerted about new videos as they come out. Give it a thumbs up, share it across social media, leave a comment. And if you can, contribute to the channel by either going to the super thanks button down below, click that. You can give right directly to the page, or head on over to Patreon. The link will be at the end of the video. Become a patron of the channel, help support the channel so that it can bring videos like this to you. Until our next video, the Sal, signing off.